Knuckles, please tell me you have a...
Last one.
Let's make it count.
Sonic 3 was one of the biggest movies of the year, bringing back the titular character, his allies, and of course, his enemies. Surprisingly, the movie turned out even better than its predecessor, with plenty of action-packed sequences, emotional moments, and surprising twists. However, even a great movie like Sonic 3 isn't perfect. There are a few mistakes, inconsistencies, and funny errors that made their way into the final cut. For a few of these mistakes, I ended up scratching my head asking, wait, how does that even make sense? Let's begin with the magic-changing clothes, shall we? Let's be honest, continuity errors are common in movies, and we kind of expect to see a few in Sonic 3. In one scene, when the Wachowski family is back at the campsite, we see Maddie wearing a pink shirt. She also wore a pink shirt in the earlier camping scenes. In the very next shot, however, the camera angle changes and suddenly she's wearing a striped sweater instead. When did she change outfits? Did the filmmakers think we wouldn't notice? The Sonic creators need to remember that Sonic fans will notice everything. After all, they are eagle-eyed fellas. Now let's talk about the scene where Tails' backpack disappears. The fan favorite Tails is known for his intelligence, and he's always carrying some cool gadgets in his backpack. But when it comes to his backpack, well, it looks like it has a mind of its own. In one scene, Tails is seen wearing it, and then in the very next shot, it's completely gone. Remember, there's no explanation for what happened to it. Maybe he dropped it. Perhaps the filmmakers just forgot to include it in the scene. Either way, it's a funny mistake that fans caught. The next mistake is a bit difficult to catch. Yeah, we're talking about the London Clock Tower's wrong colors. Big Ben in London is one of the most famous landmarks in the world, but not everyone is familiar with its history. The tower underwent a full restoration in 2021, and as part of that, the clock hands and numerals were painted blue. This way, the tower was brought back to its original color. Since Sonic 3 takes place in 2024, the clock hands should be blue, but no, they're still black, which is how they looked before the restoration. This might not seem like a big deal, but still, it's historically inaccurate. Surprisingly, some fans noticed a couple mistakes in the Robotnik dance sequence. One of the funniest and absolute favorite scenes in Sonic 3 is when Dr. Ivo Robotnik and his grandfather, Gerald Robotnik, dance through a laser-filled security room. Their special suits protect them from the lasers, but there's one problem. Their heads are completely exposed, yet they don't get hurt at all. This makes us question whether the lasers are only programmed to target their suits. Perhaps the two Robotniks are just lucky. Either way, I don't think this makes sense, but yes, I still love that scene. Let's continue with Sonic's forgotten belongings, shall we? At the end of the original movie, Tom and Maddie take all of Sonic's belongings from his cave and bring them to their house. In the third installment, however, we see that some of Sonic's old stuff is still in the cave, including a pair of nunchucks. Honestly, I don't think this is a huge mistake because there are several possibilities of what might have happened. Maybe Sonic left them behind on purpose. Perhaps Tom and Maddie just forgot some of his things. I think we can all agree that this is a small inconsistency. But yeah, I don't think it makes sense that Sonic calls Tom Dad then, doesn't it? One of the best moments in Sonic 2 was when Sonic finally called Tom Dad. This shows that he finally accepted Tom as his adoptive father. However, in Sonic 3, he is back to calling him by his name. This feels like the big dad moment in Sonic 2 never happened. What do you guys think? Is this a mistake? Do you maybe believe this is an intentional thing? Let us know before we continue with the gun timeline and why it makes no sense. In the second movie, Commander Walters clearly says that GUN, Guardian Units of Nations, was recently formed because of what Sonic did in the first movie. In Sonic 3, however, it's revealed that GUN has actually been around for over 50 years. So, which one is it? Did Walters lie about GUN's history? Did the creators forget what they said in the last movie? There's also the mystery of Ivo Robotnik's parents. Sonic 3 left us with many questions, and for a lot of fans, it would have been better if we found out who Ivo Robotnik's parents were. We know that Gerald Robotnik is his grandfather and Maria is his cousin, but Sonic 3 never tells us who Ivo's actual parents are. Did Ivo just appear out of nowhere? We've been left to speculate, and hopefully the upcoming movie will answer this mystery. Another mysterious question we were left with is how can Sonic and his friends breathe in space? The battle in outer space is the most epic scene in the entire Sonic franchise. franchise, that's for sure. And while everything in the scene looks incredible, there's one problem. They're breathing perfectly fine despite being in the vacuum of space. Yes, this could be explained by the fact that these characters aren't human and maybe their bodies are built differently. But in Sonic's video games, characters like Sonic often wear spacesuits in similar situations. So yeah, maybe the filmmaker should have acknowledged the lack of oxygen in some way. Next on our list is Dr. Robotnik's math fail. At one point in the movie, Dr. Robotnik asks his grandfather, Gerald, about the most elegant formula in mathematics. Gerald responds with Euler's identity. Interestingly, this is a real mathematical equation, and honestly, I had no idea about this because I'm terrible at math, but as some fans pointed out, Gerald mispronounces it as Euler instead of Euler, the correct pronunciation. Naturally, we all expected someone as intelligent as Gerald Robotnik to know how to pronounce a famous mathematical term correctly. This was likely overlooked by most viewers, but for math fans, it's a funny slip-up. As for the next mistake, well, it's a big deal. When Shadow injures Tom's chest, his arm gets broken. At one point in the movie, Shadow delivers a devastating punch to Tom, hitting him in the chest. Tom ends up in the hospital, but instead of a chest injury, his arm is in a cast. There are two options. The shockwave might have traveled through his body and broken his arm instead, or this is just a mistake in continuity. Last but not least, there is Ivo Robotnik's science mistake. In the third movie, Robotnik refers to a destruction beam that will destroy everything in a 250,000-mile radius around Earth. The problem here is that the 250,000 miles is the diameter of Earth, not the radius. The actual radius of Earth is only 8,000 miles. Isn't Robotnik a scientific genius? As one, he should know this. Did you guys notice any of these mistakes when watching the movie, or did we miss any? Let us know in the comments, and as always, thanks for watching. See ya!